DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. What is that? That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we are on part 2 of our 5-part series, which is on how America does immigration wrong. Before we get into this, I'll remind you of a couple things. First of all, workonmygame.com. Workonmygame.com. Get on my email list. Get my emails for free every single day straight to your inbox. Secondly, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Have me as your direct personal coach in the university, where you can get on live direct conversations with me, get access to all of our trainings, all of our courses, our full system strategies, mindsets, and have that implementation, what is the word I'm looking for? Accountability, all through my coaching, workonyourgameuniversity.com, link down below in the description. Getting into our part 2 of our ongoing 5-part series, how America does immigration wrong. The point number 4 is what we're picking up here is assimilation. Assimilation. What does this mean? This is a big one that matters a whole lot. If you go into another person's home, for example, if I was to visit your home and your expectation is that everyone removes their shoes at the front door, would it be acceptable for me to say, well, I don't want to do that. I like keeping my shoes on no matter where I go, and I'm just going to walk into your house with my shoes on? Would that be okay? Would that be acceptable? Would you allow me to stay in your house, or would you ask me to leave, or maybe do something even more serious? You wouldn't allow that. All right. So when you go into someone else's home, all of you understand that you need to respect the rules of another person's house, even if what they do in that house is a little bit different from what you do in your house, because you understand you are a visitor in somebody else's space. Everyone understands that, and we generally accept that as the part of the social contract, right? It's the same thing in many other countries. When you go into another country, you can't go there and just bring your American customs and just do whatever you feel like doing in that country if in that country they have an issue with you doing that thing. They will let you know clearly and directly, hey, we don't do that here. Maybe you're not from here, but if you're going to be here, you got to do how we do things here. As the saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans. So in the United States of America, actually, let me back up. In other countries, when you go visit, any of you who's ever been anywhere, any of you who's from another country, you very much understand this. Any of you who is from America, but you've actually traveled and been to other places, you understand there are customs and norms that must be respected and adhered to when you're visiting other countries. And if you don't respect them, they will first of all let you know about it. And secondly, if you seem to not get the message, they will kick your ass out of there. You can't just stay in that country doing whatever you feel like doing. That's what we call assimilation. When you step into another space that does not belong to you, you must assimilate your behaviors to what is normal and what is accepted in that space. You cannot just do what you feel like doing because you are a visitor, period. For that reason only. Because you're a visitor, you can't just do what you want to do. And they will let you know what the rules are. They often let you know what the rules are before you get there. Often, any of you who's traveled anywhere, you are probably conscientious about, hey, let me find out how things are at that place before I get there. Every place I ever went overseas, I would always go in Google and find out, all right, where is this place on the map exactly? What's the language there? What is the exchange rate for the money there? How do people get around there? Where exactly am I going to be staying? I would try to find out as much as I could. What's the weather like? What's the climate in these places? Are we near any bodies of water? Do I know any people in a country or any country that's near there? Do I have any fans or friends in this place? And I can let them know I'm going to be coming to that place. I would do my background to find out what's going on over there. That's called assimilation. I would try to find out as much as I could about how I can adjust to how things are going to be in the place that I was going, right? And all of us generally do this without even thinking about it. You cannot just go to another place and just normally do what you would normally do in your place just because it's your thing. Again, when you're in other people's spaces, such as someone else's country, you assimilate to what they have going on. Whenever I travel internationally, whether I was traveling for basketball, most of the travel I've done was when I was playing basketball, but I've traveled internationally outside of that as well. I'd say about 90-10 basketball to my travel outside of playing basketball. Anytime that I even tried, I made an honest effort to assimilate to what was going on in that space. The people who were from there, the people who lived there, were very appreciative and even excited about the fact that I tried. The fact that I would try to learn some of the local languages, they really appreciated that. The fact that I would try to adjust my behavior to how they did things there, as opposed to just doing what I felt like doing. They always appreciated that. Just the language was enough. Any country that I went to, especially when I was playing basketball, I remember this because you would communicate a lot on the court. A lot of basketball communication is a universal language, and people would be able to understand enough words in English to say enough in English. Even if they didn't speak English, they could say enough in English that we could communicate on the court. If I just tried to learn some of the language, just some of the words and some of the ways that people would say things, I could see the appreciation in it. Like, I remember when I was playing in Montenegro, for example, there was a bread pastry that I liked. What do they call it? A delicacy, bread delicacy. It was called burek, Burek. And I remember that I would always go to this little shop and I would buy some of it whenever I was like coming and going, like from practices, or sometimes on the weekends or just regular days. I'd be out there and I would get it. And I remember I posted a picture of it on my Facebook page, because that's where all my fans in Montenegro at the time, but they would all see what I was talking about. I would post a lot about what I was doing there, and they just liked the fact that they were experiencing their own country through an American's eyes. And I remember I posted a picture of it and said, "What is this called? I like this bread. What is it called?" And a bunch of people left a comment and told me what it was called. And then when I would go and get it and I would use the word and say it, they really appreciated that, as opposed to me going there and saying, "Hey, I want that bread right there," speaking in English. They didn't speak English. I didn't speak their language. But when I tried to assimilate just a little bit, they really appreciated it. And again, sometimes it's just a matter of giving the effort, even if the outcome isn't that great. And locals appreciate that anywhere you go. If you can learn to ask, "Where is the bathroom?" in the local language, they appreciate that, instead of you just saying bathroom. You can learn to pronounce certain foods. You can learn to even tell jokes or use certain slang. They appreciate that. Why? Because it shows that you are making an effort to assimilate to the culture that you're in. It shows you're making an effort to just try to do how they do things, how they do things, not just doing what you want to do because of where you're from. In the United States, we do not force assimilation. We just let people come here and do whatever they feel like doing. And this is a problem. This is one of the ways that America does immigration wrong. This is not necessarily on the government. This is on our culture. We just let people come here and do whatever they feel like doing. And there are a couple of reasons why we do this. One reason is that we have created our culture. We have created this space, this melting pot in America, such that the actual base traditional fabric of what it means to be an American has slowly eroded to where many people have no idea. I believe there are many Americans, some of you listen to this right now, you have a very strong idea and strong opinion as to what it means to be an American. And at the same time, you understand there are a lot of people in America, whether citizens or immigrants, imports, who have no idea what the fabric of being an American is even about. And that's one of the reasons why many of us feel like there is so much of a cultural divide in the United States of America, because got a bunch of people over here who believe they have a belief of what it means to be an American. And they're looking at these other people who are here in America who have no idea what it means. And frankly, many people who don't care. Or they have a completely different idea and they want to argue with you about their view of what it means to be an American versus your view of what it means to be an American. And they are completely different. And it's not even so much about one side being right and one side being wrong. It's about the fact that there are two completely distinct views as to what it means to be an American. How is that even possible? You go to another country and you get two groups of people, large groups of people who are very strong in their beliefs, but completely on opposite ends as to what it means to be a person of that country. Does that happen in Russia? Does that happen in China? Does that happen in Guatemala? Does it happen in Honduras? Does it happen in Spain? Does it happen in Belize? No, it doesn't happen in any other country in the world that you get large groups of people and you ask them, what does it mean to be a blank, a person from that country? They are generally all on the same page. Even if they disagree on things politically, they disagree on this figure and that person and what's happening over here, and they disagree on these issues. They don't disagree on what it means to be a person who is from this place. There is no disagreement on those things. But in America, there's a very, very large disagreement as to what exactly that means. And there's some people who don't know and don't give a damn what it means. That's a problem. And this is one of the reasons why America is starting to lose, again, the identity of what does it actually mean to be an American. At the same time, when we're allowing all these new people in who don't know, they aren't taught, and they don't care, well, this is changing the mix of what it is to be American. Again, if you are just bringing people in and you're not telling them what it is, then we're creating this whole mix that becomes something different than what it was. It's kind of like if you have a glass of water and you have a glass of milk and you start pouring milk into the water. Eventually, the more milk you pour in there, you can't even remember that it used to be water. All right, that's what's happening to the fabric of what it means to be an American right now, because we're pouring so much milk into the water that, all right, what exactly is this? All right, this is a whole new mixture that doesn't even have a name. That's what America is becoming right now. And again, this is why Donald Trump, with his finger on the pulse of Americans who've been here, Americans who have been here for centuries, he knew exactly what they needed to hear, and he told it to them. And again, this is one of the main reasons why he won the last election. Moving on to point number 5. Today's topic, once again, is how America does immigration wrong. Number 5, language barriers. Very simple one, but a big one. This connects to the previous point that I talked about, assimilation. When you're going into another space where another language is spoken, while you may never become fluent in the language, as I already explained, you can at least make an effort to get better at it. You can at least try. All right, the closest I came, as I said, when I would travel to other countries, I would try to learn some words. I'd try to learn to say, where's the bathroom? Try to learn to say certain foods. Try to learn to say please and thank you and good morning and good night and hello and bye. I would learn how to say those in the local language. Closest I came to doing this really well was when I played in Mexico. I was in Mexico twice, and I had a pretty good feel for Spanish, especially the first time I was there. I was speaking Spanish. I wouldn't even say fluently, but I was conversationally, what's the word? Adequate. I was conversationally adequate the first time I was in Mexico, to the point that I was having full on conversations speaking only in Spanish with people who spoke no English. And I was actually understanding them. I remember one time I was in a phone shop in Mexico because I was considering getting myself a phone that was just another. I had a phone, an American phone, but of course that wasn't so useful in Mexico. I was going to get another cell phone, which I ended up getting, that was a Mexican phone number, and I could talk to people who lived in Mexico just on that phone. I could text girls and all that stuff. I remember standing inside of a phone store and having a full-on conversation with the phone salesperson, just trying to understand what their cell phone plans were, how much it cost, how many minutes I got, and about the SIM cards, and could I text people in America, and all the things that came with it, because this is back before it was generally accepted that you got like unlimited phone calls and unlimited text messages, and unlimited data, which is what it is now with at least the phone plan that I have. But back then it was when you got a certain amount of texts, a certain amount of calls, a certain amount of usage and all that stuff. I had a whole conversation just to make sure I fully understood the phone plan before I even got the phone. I remember dating a girl there in Mexico back then that she spoke no English, like zero. And I was dating her because I could speak to her in Spanish, and meeting girls in clubs who spoke zero English. And we would have full on paragraphs, long conversations and text messages, because I had picked up the language well enough, because I had a solid foundation of it. I took Spanish for 3 or 4 years when I was in school. So I knew a lot of the verbs. I knew a lot of the basic nouns. I knew the conjugation of verbs. And Spanish is not that different from English. So I was able to kind of pick up on it. The whole point I'm sharing here is not that you need to learn Spanish. Actually, you probably should, because Latins are a bigger minority in the United States now than even Black people are. But the effort is what people respect. People respect the effort. Even if you don't become great at it, they respect the fact you're even damn trying. All right, this language barrier is a thing. And this is a reflection of the assimilation that people are not having forced upon them when they come here as immigrants. The language in the United States is English. All right, that is the native language. If you're coming here in America, it should be expected of you that you are at least attempting to learn to speak English. Why? Because this is an English speaking country. All right, learn to speak the damn language. Just try. And people respect that you're even trying, even if you ain't that great at it, because if you're immersed in it, eventually you're going to learn it. If you're immersed in it and you want to, you will learn it. All right, that's the national language here. And there's nothing wrong with someone having that expectation, or even phrasing it as a demand if they want to. Moving on, point number 6. Today's topic, once again, is how America does immigration wrong. Cultural clashes. What is culture? Culture is the underlying norms and expectations and ways of living of a certain group or a certain community. For this one, again, you can remember the famous quote that Donald Trump had during the 2024 election campaign, the one debate that he had with then Vice President Kamala Harris, who was the Democratic candidate. She didn't really win the nomination, but I guess we can call her the nominee, even though she didn't win it, but you get my point. Where Donald Trump said, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Now, does that sound like Donald Trump? They're eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs in Ohio. Whether that was true or not, and there's plenty of debate about it, and at this point, it doesn't even matter if it was true or not. The point was, he put an image in your head, and everybody's still talking about it 6 months later. Everybody's still talking about they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. And the point was, he was putting the picture in the minds of American voters that there are people coming here into our country who have a culture that's completely different than ours. Because in America, we don't eat dogs and cats. We don't go outside and kill a duck at the pond and then take it home, skin it, and eat it. We don't do that in our neighborhoods. But there are people who come from places where that's a normal part of the culture to just go find a dog or a cat or a duck, kill it, or a squirrel, kill it, bring it into your house and eat it for dinner that very night. That's normal in other countries, and people from those countries are coming here and then they're bringing those cultural norms to America, and people in America are looking at this and saying, what the hell is going on here? This is a person who is not assimilating to our culture. And there's a cultural clash between what they're used to doing and what we accept and what is frowned upon here. And no one is checking them on it because we have welcomed them with open arms to come into our country and no one's checking them on their behavior. This is a cultural clash. Then is this an issue? Yes, it is. And when you allow so many people to come into our country without letting them know, here are the standards, here's what's accepted and here's what's not. Here's how things go around here. Here's how things don't go around here. And we're just letting them do whatever they want to do, because there's a group of people politically who want to seem like we're this open arms place that allows as many people in as possible. There's a reason why they're doing that. Then this is going to create an inevitable clash. This is why, again, it feels as if there is a huge divide between where some people are in America and where others are in America right now, because there is a divide in many ways. I talked about this when I've done other conversations on immigration, especially when I do my live streaming, which I do 8 a.m. Monday through Friday on any platform that allows streaming. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, X, Rumble, YouTube, and TikTok, and Instagram. When I do those live streams, one of the things that I explained this during the election cycle, was that the reason that the Democrats, this is just my theory, the reason why the Democratic Party is so big on this immigration and allowing as much immigration as they can until it becomes a political issue, and then they have to kind of stop letting it happen, such as the Democrats during 2024 when it started getting used against them during the political campaign, is that they're trying to increase the Democrat voter block. So if they bring a whole bunch of immigrants in and they eventually become citizens, remember Kamala kept using the phrase path to citizenship during her election campaign. She wants to allow all these immigrants to become citizens, at which point they can vote, and at which point they're going to vote Democrat. Why? Because the Democrats are the ones who let them in the first place and allowed them to become citizens. So they're going to vote for the Democrats, so which increases the Democrats' voter base, which means they can win more elections and they can have more political power. That's what I think the long game is that they're playing. Now, it doesn't mean that that candidate's going to be able to benefit from it, but 2, 3, 4 candidates later, because presidential elections are every 4 years, that candidate can benefit from from the groundwork that was laid by a 4 times ago administration. And also the reason why Donald Trump's fighting it, and the reason why they would fight it and say, no, we're not going to do that. And what side do I think? What side would I say I fall on? I'll fall on the side of following the standards and the rules that are in place. And the rules that are in place are, we can't just let people come into our country without proper documentation. So catching them and getting them out of here is the law. That's actually the law that's on the books. And the reason why so many people are overreacting so much to what Donald Trump is doing, there's a couple of reasons. Of course, you got your Trump derangement syndrome people who are going to look at anything he says or does negatively and they genuinely believe it. Mostly, though, you have people who are performative. They're virtue signaling on the internet because their whole thing is draw attention to myself by talking negatively about anything Donald Trump does, just frame it in a negative way and worst possible light, and then make as much noise as possible about it and amplify the message. That's where most of the people are on him. But all Donald Trump is doing is enforcing our immigration laws. And what Joe Biden was not doing was enforcing those laws. So it seems extreme what Donald Trump is doing. And what he's doing is not extreme. All he's doing is returning us to normal. That's all he's actually doing. So when you're bringing your cultural behaviors to a space in which those behaviors are not normal and they are not accepted, yet no one is calling you out on these abnormalities, then you may just keep doing the same thing that you're doing. And when people do call you out and say they have an issue with it, they get looked at as if they are the problem, because they're telling you, hey, you can't do that here. And you're like, why not? And they're like, because you're here and we don't do that here. And you're saying, well, this is supposed to be a place that's open and welcoming to anything and everything. No, we are not. I told you I'm a proud bigot. I did an episode. Let me tell you what episode that was, where I told you that I'm a proud bigot. I have no problem being a bigot on certain topics. Episode 3062. I'm a proud bigot. There's certain things that I'm against. I'm against someone coming into a space from which they do not come and doing whatever they want to do and nobody checking them on it. That is not okay. That leads to anarchy. It leads to chaos. That's the law of entropy. When you allow anything and there no standards are being enforced, the only thing you can possibly get is disorder and chaos. And right now in America, there is disorder and chaos brewing that would have gotten really much more out of control had Donald Trump not won that election. I've said that many times. I will say it again. Let's recap today's episode, which is part 2 of our 5-part series, How America Does Immigration Wrong. Number 4, assimilation. When you step into a space that is not yours, you follow the rules of that space. You go into somebody else's house and they say, take your shoes off, you take your damn shoes off. Why? Because those are the rules of their house. Even if you're used to keeping your shoes on all the time, this ain't your house. You want to keep your shoes on, go to your house, but you're in somebody else's house. Number 5, language barriers. Just trying to learn a language, making an effort. In America, the native language is English. People, if you're going to be here and you're going to live here, you should at least try to learn English. Many people live here and they never even they never even try. They never give it an effort. Number 6, cultural clashes. For this one, you can remember Donald Trump famously, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. It painted an image in everybody's head that there is a cultural clash happening here, and a lot of people don't want that cultural clash. They want to keep our culture, whatever they consider that to be, here, and not allow these other cultures just come in and infiltrate. And they answered back, they responded to that by voting for who they voted for. Tomorrow, we're going to get into part 3 of this ongoing 5-part series, How America Does Immigration Wrong. Between now and then, make sure you join my email list by going to workonmygame.com. It's free. I send out emails damn near every day. I call it the Daily Game. Workonmygame.com to get those emails. Want to have me as your direct coach? Get into our training programs like Bulletproof Mindset, the Work on Your Game system, the Business Builder Framework, and the Next Mission Process, and have me as your direct coach over the entire time for your mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability, our 4-part framework. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Learn more about our program there. Work on your game. Dre, all